So, I have some issues with some atheists who still believe in the whole good versus evil thing. I know that societally there is a such thing as an absolute good and an absolute evil, just societally, but the fact that it's societal means that it can't be absolute. It means it's absolutely subjective. There are cultures throughout the world who have had different standards for morality, and that shows that we as humans are really subjective. It's only once you get a large enough group together and they decide on certain things that it becomes viewed as absolute. But when atheists start saying things like even, okay, in our society, and because I'm a member and a functioning member of our society, I feel that pedophilia, rape, murder, etc., that those are horrible things and I can never consider them. But as an intellectual, I also realize that you kind of have to think outside the boundaries of your own life, community, civilization, culture, whatever. Because in and of itself, something being evil would have to mean that there's a contrast, kind of no up without down, no matter without dark matter, whatever. Um, so for there to be evil, there has to be good. And then for there to be an actual difference between the two, there would have to be a, a reason for them to be different, and that really implies some sort of creator or some sort of force that is deciding what is right and wrong with everything. And that sort of goes against the atheism, which is something I don't understand when I have arguments with my friends about there being absolutes in the world, because, again, nothing is even really absolute. I mean, you get into the whole existential, well, everybody might perceive things differently, and then you don't know, and then that's when you just kind of have to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to continue living my life and not worrying about what you experience. And I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, there's no such thing as absolutes, really, and even just after just this the way this universe was formed, and I'm planning on talking about eternal recurrence in a later video. Uh, but just about all that, it's still everything is only as absolute as we can take it to be, because we're finite creatures that can only understand so much. So it's yeah, that's all I guess I really have to say. There are no absolutes, no good and evil. There are only cultural goods and bads, etc. And to function in a society, you have to obey those and follow those, which is what most people do. And then when they don't, we used to say things like, "Oh, they're possessed by Satan," etc. But now we know that there's usually some sort of mental impact, such as like serial killers, sociopaths, that kind of thing. And we know what to do, and we don't just immediately cast them into fire and say have fun in hell kind of deal. We try to help them because we realize that their behavior and their thought processes are abnormal for our society, and so we can't have them in our society if they're not going to function well within it. So that goes to another thing. There's the whole sort of freedom of what to do. You can do and say whatever you want as long as you don't infringe upon the rights of others to do and say whatever they want. Which is why people who sort of, I don't know, being an atheist is kind of against our societal norms to a degree, but it doesn't hurt anybody, and I'm not out killing anybody because of my atheism, because that would be stupid, first of all. And yeah, so that doesn't do anything, but if you're killing other people, there's no absolute reason you shouldn't be doing it, but to function in society where the rule is don't do it, you just have to not do it. And so that's why we decide that they're abnormal and that, yeah, they just don't belong. So I think that's everything I have to say, and good night.